Complex, changing, unexpected. We live in a challenging world, which demands that we replace the usual solutions with new, often surprising ones. We need to become just as surprising. Let's rise to the challenge and exploit complexity as our inspiration to keep evolving and continue making a positive impact on society. Bocconi University will be by your side every step of the way. Every day, complexity pushes us to discover how experienced minds can be inspired by the energy of emerging new talent, how specialized research fields can intermix, cross-fertilizing to create new digital paths. That makes us more open, ready to improve problem solving through deeper problem framing. The diverse perspectives and cultures of professors, researchers, students, alumni, and partners motivate us to better cooperate on building a unique vision. Of course, the sheer amount of information we are exposed to is a challenge, but this pushes us to further develop our critical thinking. We respond to this changing reality by promoting a stronger entrepreneurial spirit and by designing management training and lifelong learning around your world. That's how we are working toward our objectives, turning differences into an opportunity for more inclusion, and framing issues concerning global resources as drivers of environmental and socially sustainable change. No matter how complex it is, each day will represent a chance to challenge ourselves. So let us share this opportunity and imagine a new academic year, inspired by complexity.
Mr. Denis Mukwege, Nobel Peace Prize, our keynote speaker for today, dear Rector, Professor Verona, dear Minister and Mayor, His Excellency Delpini, and Madam Vice President of Regione Lombardia and Mr. President of the Court of Appeal, and General Prosecutor of the City of Milan, and distinguished military and civil guests, dear rectors and President of the Javotte Bocconi Institute, Professor Provasoli, dear members of the Board of Directors, dear CEO, Mr. Taranto, dear professors, directors, administrative staff, dear students, dear alumni, ladies and gentlemen. Today's meeting is part of the 100th anniversary of Bocconi University celebrations, which started operating in November 1902. Compared to the usual format, this time the ceremony will be held in a wider sense in time and in space. It is longer, but don't worry, it will not be longer than usual. But by that, saying that it will expand more in time, I mean that Professor Gianmario Verona will remind us about the 6 years of his task, a longer period than the usual 4 years, and also a very dense, a very rich journey, because he had, of course, to fight against the big hurdles posed by the pandemic for all of us and for the life at university in particular. And there is a lot of future in the 6 years that he will recount about. And extended in geographical and also disciplinary educational space. By that, I mean that for the very first time, we are pleased to have an African keynote speaker. And the educational, the disciplinary scope can be seen at once, and it will be even clearer in that the field where Mr. Mukwege will be speaking ranges from health in countries like his own, Congo, to violence against women in countries like Congo, but also, unfortunately, like all our countries, and also to painfully nourished ideas of peace in the framework of Congo, which is fighting against the war that is the most forgotten among the wars in the world. Mr. Mukwege is a physician specializing in gynecology and is also an obstetrician. As a doctor, he dedicated his life to take care of the victims of rape. As an activist, he fought for women's rights and to stop sexual violence as a weapon of war. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, he founded Panzi Hospital, experimenting new treatment protocols for rape victims. In 2014, he was awarded the Sakharov Prize for the freedom of thought, given by the European Parliament, and in 2018, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace. And today, during his speech, he will be talking about the issue of women's rights, inclusion, rejection, refusal of violence as a precondition for any journey of peace, but also the need not to be indifferent vis-à-vis crimes that are perpetrated against innocent victims. These issues are extremely current, as the images from Ukraine, Afghanistan, Iran, and unfortunately many other countries in the world prove. We are deeply grateful to you, Dr. Mukwege, for accepting our kind invitation, and your participation today, your presence today, also allows us remembering with emotion and gratitude as Italians and also as Bocconians the sacrifice of Ambassador Luca Attanasio, of Carabinieri Vittorio Iacovacci, and of the driver Mustafa Milango. Luca was one of our graduates. He is, and he actually passed away in Congo as a hero, so we would like to give our memories and our heart to his family who are here today, his father Salvatore, his mother Alida, and his wife Zadia. Besides the keynote speech of our special guest, the main part and body and soul of this event will be the speech given by Professor Verona, who on the 31st of October will end his mandate as a rector. I was saying it earlier on, this is not something that defines him, but of course it is something which is a heavy burden on the shoulder of somebody, and Gianmario Verona has been a rector for 6 years, which is a very important, significant task. And in the last 2 years, 2.5 probably, of these 6 years, he has been at the guide of Bocconi University, trying to struggle and to be coordinated with the rectors of other universities that I would like to thank on this occasion, and I would like to thank them for their presence and participation today. So he collaborated with Mr. Taranto and with the entire team of our university, and he had to work in very, very short times to allow the feasibility of studying of exams also during the pandemic, and to also rekindle the normal rhythm, the normal pace as soon as possible after the pandemic. And this after, of course, is not so easy to be defined, but also bringing everything back to normal requires qualifications, because as all human organizations, Bocconi University has tried to draw some learnings and teachings from what the pandemic has taught us in terms of operating models for work and for teaching and for learning. Let me say in the name of the board of directors that appointed him on my behalf, and also in the name of the entire Bocconian community, I would like to say that we are deeply grateful to Professor Verona for his absolutely incredible energy, and also his activity, which has always been part of a very clear planning, his innovative skills, maybe also due to the fact that he's a big international expert of innovation as a whole, and he experiences it directly, and we could do the same. And I would also like to remind you that at the end of this 6-year mandate, Professor Verona was appointed by the President and the Prime Minister as the President of the Human Technopole Foundation, which is another extraordinary challenge I would like to wish him good work with. On the 1st of November, the charge of rector will be taken by Professor Villari. For 2 years, because Bocconi University has always this gradual approach, which is not, of course, exaggerated, and it likes to exaggerate without, of course, outdoing, aiming at constant improvement. And Professor Villari is not only a scientist of sociology and demography, who is internationally recognized. He was also a director at the Department of Sociology in Oxford, among other things. But in this increasingly multifaceted university, he represents another face, another side, compared to the one that was represented with synergy and with pride by Professor Verona in the last 6 years. And I am confident that also in the future, Bocconi University will always try to take advantage of this common management, but also in the external projection of what this common Bocconi house, which is misinterpreted so often, and the different parts of this big soul can do. And Professor Verona, among other things, will tell you about that because under his guide, direction, many changes have been made to the educational path. So my greetings and good luck to Professor Billery. On the 1st of November, I will leave the charge of president of the university, and Professor Andrea Sironi will take this position. Former rector and former member with different positions, and also in the last 4 years he was appointed by the executive committee as the president of strategic planning. And I will not add anything else, but I personally am extremely glad that I will have a successor as Andrea Sironi.
Il 7 dicembre.
On the 7th of December, there's a symbolic passage, because this relay has also a symbolic meaning from me to Professor Sironi. Professor Sironi, that I would like to tell Professor Provasoli was appointed by the board of directors of the Javot Institute that Professor Provasoli had. So on the 7th of November, there will be a moment of reflection on Bocconi University, Europe and Italy, in this very moment of shift, of transition, and also of renewed commitment, engagement in different ways, as the imagination of Professor Sironi will probably testify and prove in time. In this moment of reflection, with some memories about the past, but also projections on the future, the President of the Republic of Italy will be present, and I would like to thank him, but also the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. So thank you for your participation, for being here, for your kind attention, and I would like to ask Professor Verona to take the floor.